Hello and welcome on this International Women's Day. We are pleased to have with us a successful political leader, BJP spokesperson Shazia Ilmi ji. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And I'm really honored that you've thought of me and invited me to your wonderful platform.
So, ma'am, you came from Kanpur and became a
Yes,
journalist and now a successful political leader. How would you describe your journey?
arduous, eventful, and a roller coaster.
Really? What makes you say so?
There have been so many ups and downs, and it's been very pacey, it's been very fast paced.
Yeah.
So much has happened. There has never been a dull moment. So I think Allah, Ishwar, Lord, destined that this is the life I lead, and I'm leading that.
But what motivated you to make this shift from journalism to becoming a political leader?
So it was just, I worked with news for many years. That's the
Yes.
only job I've known. I passed out of Jamia Mass
Yeah.
Communication Research Center. I was trained to be a technical person, to be a filmmaker, and many of
Yes.
my batchmates are very senior, serious filmmakers. So I'm more of a technical person, to be behind the camera, to direct, produce, and what have you. So I come from Kanpur. Chamanganj was the area, a hustling, bustling neighborhood, predominantly Muslim. That's where I come from. And a part of me always wanted to do more. I wasn't happy just being a little daughter of a well-known editor of a newspaper, a Maulana in his own right, a Maulana Shazia Ilmi. And my brother's world was very different from mine. So I wanted to change that, and I wanted to go out there and see life for itself, and redefine rules that are set for women. And it's like almost like your future is past revisited. So in your present, you're totally guided by the past, and your future is recreated past. So it's kind of written as to what will happen, as from a good daughter to a good sister, to a good then wife, to a good mother. Those rules were defined. And I didn't want to be very good. It's very boring sometimes. Sometimes you have to challenge things.
Yes.
So, which is what I did. And I got into a Jamia Mass Communication Research Center. So I was trained to be a filmmaker. And I worked with news for many, many years, like you
Yes.
have, yes. And it was great and fulfilling. Yet a part of me wanted to do more. So I got into it accidentally. It is not by design that I'm a politician. And it so happened that there was this whole Anna Hazare movement, what
yes.
I've heard of. And before it even became a big movement, when
Yeah.
it was just beginning to happen, I was very tempted. So from TV, hardcore news, I was anyway kind of taking a break, making my documentary films. And then this happened. This came to me just like that, destiny. And so I just felt I'm going to help out Prashant Bhushan ji, Arvind Kejriwal, who was my Rakhi brother, and just wanted to do more. And this was the thing, and I thought I will give some time to it, and then I had no idea that 1 month, 2 months, and now it'll be like, it seems like I find myself in like serious politics.
Yes.
So Anna Hazare movement itself was not a political movement, it started against corruption.
Against corruption.
But then Arvind made it into a political party. Because I was close to Arvind Bhai, I just kind of went along. So it was never part of the plan. Yet here I am.
But you played a pivotal role in this campaign, India Against Corruption. If I have to ask you, how did it shape your political view?
My political views are very, very clear, even before that. All my news anchoring was on during the days when UPA 2 was in power, and those were hardcore corrupt days. And every news story that I broke, did, reported, or observed and analyzed was about corruption. So it was total corruption, and it kept on happening, and there were scams after scams, ministries after ministries, departments after departments, ministers after ministers. So that corruption kept happening, the scams kept happening. And I kept reporting, and I wanted to do more. So I was in that sense very anti-Congress. And also I didn't like, as a Muslim woman, I've had a huge problem with the way Congress has conducted itself and addressed the issue of Muslims. I feel Muslims have been exploited by the party totally. for Congress's own personal and political gains when if you look at certain ministers in the party. So I was very clear about that. As part of the Anna movement, I realized governance, accountability and is very important, transparency. And the whole thing of anti-corruption was very important movement for me. I wanted there to be a certain degree of, as I said earlier, accountability of the elected people towards the voters. And I was very clear that I would be with that party which addresses real issues, not just talk about Muslim vote bank, Hindu vote banks. And I'm sure all parties do that, but good governance was a very important aspect of what I stood for. And so I was very clear that I wasn't going to be with Congress and so-called secular parties who just use Muslims as vote banks.
Yeah. So in this largely male-dominated political landscape, what were your challenges and how you dealt with those challenges?
So it's been a big fight, and I think I've been fighting this fight, the good fight you can call it, or the tough fight I would call it, since I was maybe 10 or 11 years of age. So right from those rickshaw rides in Kanpur, in Chamanganj, a very conservative areas, to New Delhi, to Simla, St. Bede's College, to Hansraj College, Delhi University, to Jamia Masscom, to all the newsrooms, you know, of New Delhi. I mean, I worked for some of the biggest channels. This has been the case, you know. So it's very difficult to shake off the patriarchal, very anti-women image people have an attitude. So, and women very often succumb to it, but I did not. I said my work will speak for itself, my mind is for everybody to see. And I'm just not going to be a girl or a woman. This is about my journey. So, and that has continued those challenges because this is a very deep-rooted bias that people have. And women also have that bias.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
So, it has been challenging throughout, you know, and I still continue to face it. You know, I'll just tell you a recent incident. I called publicly on TV that Epstein is a monster. He's a pedophile, he's a rapist, and it's unthinkable. And sometimes you stay awake, I think all of us do, thinking of what kind of people they were and they are. So I said that totally, and of course I was talking about my party, and as a party spokesperson, I was talking about what our minister, Hardeep Puriji's role has been and how limited it's been to, and which is why his name is not in the files which have been brought out by the victims, but in the emails in his capacity as a member of a committee, a multilateral commission. So, but the hate I got, the ugliness, there were many other fellow male spokespersons too, and none of them got the ugliness that I got from. And it was, you were trolled, but in such a vicious manner. And it was about my body, my children, me deserving to get raped. And it was just
a lot of personal
ugly.
attacks.
So women always face far more personal attacks, and it's been like that with me. When I left Aam Aadmi Party, they had little to say about the reasons why I left. And very real reasons were all about who I am. So, she's looking so bad. She's put too much makeup. Oh, look at her. Oh, she's like that. And you know, there'll always be questions about your morality.
Exactly.
What kind of character do you have? And women themselves will not spare you. They will not even bother checking how much of it is true. It just, you know, you will never accuse men of that, of their character. You will never accuse men of being too emotional. Correct. You know, I'm very proud of my tears and fears. I have been scared in life. I am scared of a few things, but I will not hide them away and pretend to be somebody I'm not. I cry easily, and I'm proud of that I feel. But you know, to be emotional is to be a weak person.
Weak person, yes. Okay, but do you think women politicians are still intensely criticized, because we were just talking about it, for what they wear, and do you believe female leaders in India are compelled to dress down? I mean, what is society's expectations out of a powerful woman?
You know, so see, if you're a woman whose husband or whose father is a powerful politician, or you come from that family, you'll be protected. Somebody like me, nobody will speak for. My dad is no more there. In my own family, there is a whole property dispute. So my brothers work against me, except for one.
Yes.
So it's very difficult. So you have to see it case by case. Powerful women from big families, who they're protected, always. Somebody or the other comes to their rescue. You see, in my case, nobody in my family can come to my rescue, So because your family is through, of course, your parents, your father, and through your husband. And so I don't come from any of that.
But this perception of, women in sari, in political landscape, or just
Yeah,
association, or
so they have to also follow that stereotype. So you'll find many of these female politicians in their personal space could wear something different, but
yes,
they have to dress up in a certain way to conform to a certain stereotypical image of what women politicians must look like. I try to change that. As a young
yes,
girl, as a growing woman, I was not allowed to wear what I wanted to wear. I had dreams and desires to dress up like my other friends.
yeah.
Shalini, Babita, Aparna. But I couldn't, because obviously it was not part of our culture. You always had to hide and wear if you wanted to wear pants or anything Western. So I feel now I'm old enough to wear and decide what I want to
Yes.
wear. But in politics you can't. So I try to change that, and I try to be as honest as I can. And obviously I'll always be fully covered because that's part of my upbringing. But in public spaces, yes, it's very difficult to break away from that image of wearing a sari.
Yes. In 2022, you moved the Supreme Court seeking uniform code for alimony,
Yeah.
okay, and maintenance. What made you take up this issue?
It's a very important issue. In fact, I've been one of the early petitioners
Yes.
for UCC as
Yes,
well.
yes.
And ever since I was a little girl, and I grew
You've
up in a very
seen.
conservative Sunni household,
Yes.
I would always see these women come to the house. And of course, my world was limited, but at least I was allowed to study. And people like us have to say allowed. And we were given permission to. And we're very grateful for that. But men will never, they're entitled a lot, you see. So, having said that, I would see so many women, एक जुबैदा खाला होती थी, कि बेटी एक बेबी बाजी होती थी, एक रफत आपा आती थी, all abandoned by their husbands, all of them. Each one of them, and there were many, ज़कात मांगने आती थी, काम मांगने आती थी, बहुत ही बुरी हालत में, बिल्कुल गरीबी में. ज़्यादा सबकी एक ही कहानियाँ थी. शौहर ने छोड़ दिया है, husbands have abdicated their responsibility, abandoned them, gotten married again. No question of maintenance, for themselves, for the children. So I think a part of me is here because of that. So
Yeah.
this remains my true purpose. Politics तो एक रास्ता है.
Yeah.
ये जो है ना, इसको ठीक करने की मेरी हमेशा कोशिश रहेगी. This is what moves me. Stories like these, they really make me emotional. Yeah.
But do you see changes coming?
Definitely. I go back sometimes to Kanpur and all these conservative places in UP where I come from, and I see younger girls asserting themselves.
Yeah.
In a way, social media has helped a lot. The dominant culture, popular culture, so things definitely are changing. And men are also realizing that, they have to support their daughters,
Correct.
their sisters.
In all your campaigns and electoral contests, what was your most favorite moment?
There was this image in, I think, many newspapers, and I remember Times of India, the day Anna Hazare movement, which was earlier IAC or an anti-corruption movement, was there on every page. So I was there, and there's a central picture of Times of India, I think, that day, when I'm saying something to Anna, right there, and it was raining that day.
Yes,
remember,
I remember
Ramlila
that
Maidan.
picture.
So that picture I can never forget, So it was something that kind of defined me, and even me in eyes of people.
Yeah.
But this, I would say, is more from others' point of view. For me, what really part of the campaign was just seeing. So, you would meet. I'll tell you. The favorite memory that I have is, I went around asking for votes, obviously, for Aam Aadmi Party, even myself.
Yes.
They had given me the ticket. I had never asked for it. I'm not the asking type. And Narkepuram, and I went, and there was this, there were very few Muslims in that area. So I never thought that I should think of myself as a Muslim, which is always a concern, right, of all parties. But I was new and I just was doing it for this new party, and I was too loyal, I think, like a fool. So I remember little girl, her parents, this was a Muslim household, and there were hardly any families, and I was told to, "Aap jaiye yahan se, you please leave." And I felt very bad. And but a little girl came running to me. She says, "Don't mind what my dada said, just help us."
Oh.
So that moment stayed with me. It was a very important moment because she said her mother was saying, "Tell Shazia Appa not to feel bad, but to continue working and make sure there's a bus close by for her." So I think that stayed with me. Also, when I went to, now it's all changed, you know, I want to give full marks to Modi ji. I saw the filth that I saw and how people lived there in the same JJ slums. I was like disgusted. But people live like that. All those Ekta Vihar, they've all changed, by the way. So we needed, and this was before 2014. But those were things that I felt, oh my God, how are my fellow citizens living? And it bothered me. So those are the things that really moved me. But in people's eyes, yeah, it was a defining moment, you know, because when you work selflessly, you give up the whole career, you're just part of a small movement. तब तो शुरू में हुआ था, तो किसी को पता नहीं था कि क्या होगा उसमें. But eventually when it became big, after Jantar Mantar and all the negotiations that used to happen with that Anna team and the UPA 2 ministers team, this became very big. And yeah.
This incident that you just mentioned, quite an emotional one, but you became voice of several women out there.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It's very important to me. You know, all of us, Anshu, you, I, and even men, I ask, we have to be voices for the voiceless.
Yes.
It's our job. It's not something for political dividends or any kind of dividends. It is our duty. We have seen how life works.
Yes.
They're the voiceless out there. They can't speak for themselves. They don't even know what they're being denied. They have no idea of that. They're just part of a conditioning which keeps them a certain way. Quiet, hesitant,
Correct.
in anguish, in pain. We have to relieve them.
Because you said, you know, in one of your articles I read that patriarchy is a mindset and feminism is a war against this mentality.
Absolutely.
Why?
So I want to say this to you. Now, you'll interview a lot of men and women.
Yeah.
They're saying, you know, aadmi aise hote hain, men are like this. No, it's wrong. I have met wonderful men.
Yes.
And they've been great. If you compare my brother Irshad Bhai to my sister, I think he's far more emancipated than my sister would be. If you see my father and compare her with my father was far more of a feminist than my mother was. So women are as much a part of patriarchal culture.
Yes.
So, you know, this typical thing of people fighting over men, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law fighting over a man. So it's just the whole thing. We've given men too much power.
Correct.
But there are men out there who want a good deal. And so women must get themselves out of this trap. And women are as much a part of patriarchy. So men and women have to work together for gender parity for other women.
So that's where women are getting wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a fight against a mentality. It is not a fight against men.
Sexes.
Yeah, it's not a battle between sexes.
Yeah.
It is a battle against a mentality which keeps a certain gender oppressed.
Correct.
And women themselves, many women are also part of it, are the oppressors. The biggest barrier, I think, is dynastic politics, is certain powerful families. And I really want and I really pray that more and more women from grassroots, without any daddy or father-in-law or a powerful husband or a powerful name behind them, last name, get there on their own. Because even now you see that, even if you see Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, many women are there because of their families.
Yes.
So would anybody who's worked hard on their own, made their own mark, struggled every day, worked on a career which they got with great difficulty, but they get to something easily? No, they won't. So it's just easier. So we have to have more access for normal women who don't have anybody to promote them. I mean, I had nobody to promote me, ever. You ask, I mean, whether it was in school, college, mass comm, where I got in through an entrance exam to Anna Hazare movement. You've all seen, or as a anchor with Star News, there was never any family backing ever for me. You can come from a family like my father was a famous journalist, or you can have one or two relatives, but they've never spoken for me or have been have recommended me. It's always been a lot of hard work.
Yes. And there's
It's also किस्मत होगी, किसी की किस्मत बहुत tough होती है, तो मेरी उस किस्मत में से है.
And there's a lot of balancing act required. Like women have freedom, but then their choices are questioned, and then there is a lot of expectations out of them. How did you balance all this?
I don't know whether I balanced it, but I sure went, you know, I mean, I don't know how those, how the balancing act happens, but every minute of my life, since I've been, like I said, 10 or 11, I feel I'm walking the tightrope.
Yeah.
And you know something, people would disagree with me and say, oh, she's only talking about her religion. All religions are like that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, and to be a Muslim girl in the current setup in a democracy is very, very tough. Because one has to fight everything. Because there are parts also which are part of the religion, or what people think is religion, is that women must not do this, must do that. I'm sure there are conservative families and Hindus and Sikhs too, but I think it's far more tougher for Muslim girls to go out there. There are too many odds against them. So, yeah, it's never easy.
You work with both the you have worked with both the political parties. What would be that one thing that influenced your approach to leadership?
So, I was always a journalist, but I was part of course, I was a founder member of Aam Aadmi Party, and which I told you was an accident, not by design, because I never thought I'll be a politician. Then here I am getting interviewed by you on politics, so that's that. And it was very terrible, you know, what I discovered about the party, which came from a movement, which came from a small team, which just desired a new India, you know. So, what I have learned after leaving AAP, and then after I waited out a year, and a lot of politicians leave. I mean, it's very common. But the only difference in my case, in Shazia Ilmi's case, is that I didn't get into a party for a ticket or for any position. Maybe perhaps I'm the only politician who's changed a party after a whole year of thinking, without any greed, without any perks whatsoever. Because in the BJP, I've never asked for anything. So I remain that politician who never wanted to be a politician, who was already in media and had a decent career and could have continued with that and gotten pretty decent jobs. And one who did not join a movement even knowing that it would be a big movement, or changed from Aam Aadmi Party and waited for a year to be part of BJP a year later, and who's never asked for any position, didn't even negotiate कि हमको एक ticket दे देना या ये दे देना, you know.
So what legacy do you want to build as a woman leader in Indian politics?
Oh, definitely. I really want people to realize the power they have. And if I can do it, anybody can. Your family can be against you. People will drag you down.
Yes.
They'll make things so ugly. You leave everything for a movement, and the same brothers of yours will malign you, will vilify you. But you know something? You stand strong.
So on this International Women's Day, what would be your message to young women who aspire to join Indian politics?
You know, I read this beautiful poem or nazm of Fehmida Riaz, and it stayed with me. And it's so beautiful, you know. कुछ लोग तुम्हें समझाएंगे, वो तुमको खौफ दिखाएंगे. जो है वो भी हो सकता है, इस राह में रेज़न है इतने, कुछ और यहाँ हो सकता है. Reason as in crooks.
Yes.
You know, dacoits. So, कुछ लोग तुम्हें समझाएंगे, वो तुमको खौफ दिखाएंगे, जो है वो भी हो सकता है. इस राह में रेज़न है इतने, कुछ और यहाँ हो सकता है. अरे कुछ और तो अक्सर होता है, पर तुम जिस लम्हे से जिंदा हो, वो लम्हा तुमसे जिंदा है. तुम अपनी करनी कर गुजरो, जो होगा देखा जाएगा.
Well, on that note, ma'am, thank you so much for giving us your time. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Anshu, so much for having me over. and keep doing more of these deep dive talks on what it means to be a leader for women.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. It was really lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.